Are you also amongst the people who think losing fat and gaining muscles at the same time is impossible? Building muscles and losing fat seems like a dream to a lot of beginners, as these topics have been over-exaggerated in the past, which left so many people insecure and in doubt. But don't worry, this video will break down all these into simpler, basic techniques for you. There's even a scientific name for losing fat and gaining muscles simultaneously, called body recomposition. This is the only miracle that people with high body fat were waiting for, as the traditional bulking then cutting system feels cliche. So here are the 8 tips to gain muscle and lose fat consecutively. By following them, you'll feel more confident about your body in front of the mirror. To begin this list, we have the most basic advice: make your weight invisible. Or you can say, ignoring your weighing scale. Just like your ex ignores you. Well, what I mean is, when you are recomposing your structure, your body mass is not the best way to measure progress. This is because weighing doesn't have the capacity to reflect beyond your external weight. It'll give you the weight that includes not only the fat, but also muscle tissue, organ, bone tissue, water weight, and a lot of other things. This might be a bit confusing. Okay, let me break it down for you. Muscles are denser than fat. This means that it covers less space and still weighs equivalent. So even when you're losing fat, the loss may not be very significant. So rather than focusing on just the numbers on the scale, you can look at other indicators such as changes in body measurement, improving in strength, your looks, and how your clothes are fitting you now. Tip number 2, focusing purely on weight training and not fat loss. Mark my words, while you try to recompose your body, fat loss should be the last thing on your mind. The fat loss should come from your diets, not the workouts. The secret to building muscles is to consistently increase training volume while you also overload over time. Now, what is training volume? Well, to sum it up, it's the total sets multiplied by the reps, further multiplied by the weight. Increasing the weight load is directly proportional to increasing the training volume, as well as stimulating the muscles to grow. As you increase the weight load, your reps will significantly drop, which is totally fine. What you need to focus on is not go lower than your lower limit and consecutively work on increasing the number of reps with that heavier weight. Tip number 3, segmentation. This means dividing 9 weeks into segments and switching your reps in every segment in order to lift more and more weights and significantly build more muscles. The best strategy for this tip is what I call the 9-week strategy. All you need to do is divide your upcoming 9 weeks into 3 segments, each of 3 weeks, and then for the first 3 weeks you do 6 to 8 reps. For the next 3 weeks you take it up to 10 to 12 reps, and for the last 3 weeks it should be between 3 to 5 reps. And after the end of the 9 weeks, you repeat the same cycle again and again. The higher rep ranges are meant to help you build endurance, while the lower ones help you generate greater strength. Every time you go back to your previous segment, you'll notice how you're able to lift even more weights than last time. One thing to keep in mind while following the cycle is to basically manage your weight lightly enough that the weight should let you hit failure before you reach the upper limit of the range, which means lifting heavier weights in smaller segments like 3 to 5 reps, while doing the opposite for 10 to 12 reps. Tip number 4, cardio. Main tip while following a cardio routine is to keep it very low in impact and intensity so that it doesn't interfere with your weight training routine. Even though cardio is boasted about a lot for fat loss, we absolutely do not require it in our mission to recompose our bodies. Cardio can surely be beneficial for health, but if we include it with weight training, it can do much more harm than good. So basic cardio, like walking or something else with similar or even minimal intensity, so as to be fully recovered for each of your weight training workouts. If your cardio is leaving you sore, that should be enough of a sign to you to switch your cardio to an even lower intensity one. Tip number 5, adequate nutrition. If you're just beginning with muscle training or haven't lifted weights in a long while, your body is very primed for muscle growth, so your main goal should be to start with a calorie deficit pattern, because even in a calorie deficit, your body has the ability to gain muscles. Calorie deficit is basically consuming lesser calories than you burn. If you are obese or have a lot of body fat, the accumulated fat in your body can act as a provider for energy to fulfill the need of fueling the fat loss, muscle growth, as well as the regular bodily functions. So, if you're anywhere close to being 15% more than your regular body fat as a man or 24% as a woman, it is advised to follow a calorie deficit pattern. Next is to consume enough protein. To calculate how much protein is required by your body, you need to multiply your body weight with 0.73 grams, and there you have your daily protein requirement. Write that down and multiply that number by 4, then subtract that new number from your total daily calories that you got from the previous step. Then you're going to take your remaining calories, divide them in half, and finally divide one of those by 9 to get your grams of fat per day, and the other half by 4 to get your grams of carbs per day. Of course, you can adjust to having more fat and less carbs, or more carbs and less fat, but a good starting point is to just divide these energy calories right down the middle. So now you have your grams of protein, carbs, and fats that you need to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. Let's go to tip number 7, calorie homework. You need to track your calories for the next 2 to 3 weeks in order to get it all right. Let me explain. This needs to be done in order to make sure that you're hitting your calorie targets every day. This will also include noting exactly how much calorie you gain from the food that you're eating on a daily basis, as it'll help you to fulfill the accurate nutrient requirements. If you have a plain and consistent eating routine for each day, you'll need about just a week to understand exactly how much you should be eating, but it'll obviously take you a little longer to understand if you're constantly switching up your cuisines. I know it can become an obsessive habit, but tracking details of calorie consumption can be really helpful in fulfilling the weight training targets. Did you notice how all these tips were about weight training and not about fat loss? Exactly. And the last tip is definitely getting enough sleep and rest. If you do not get adequate sleep, your progress will surely slow down due to lack of much needed rest, and it also makes it extremely difficult to gain and maintain muscle. Sleeping is not only helping you relax and let out the stress from the day, but it also heals broken down muscle tissues, releasing favorable hormones, and even burns fat. For adequate rest for muscle, you should consider giving your muscles at least 48 hours to heal before another rigorous workout and training them again. So if you decide to do full body workouts, you should do it every other day. If you follow a split training method where you focus on specifics like legs, backs, etc. on each day, you should focus on not overlapping any workout. And now that brings us to the end of this video. Did you understand the basics on how to succeed with the body recomposition technique? Let us know in the comments. We'll be back with another video soon. Till then, take care.